Good day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Today, we'll be taking a little sneak peek into Siriusware Control in version 5. My name is Luis Aguila, and I'm the Director of Product Management here at accesso Siriusware. I've been with accesso for almost 8 years and was once a client of the solution as a system administrator and implementer.
And I'm Stephanie Horwath. I am a sales engineer here at accesso. I have been with the company for 6 years and previously a guest services and ticketing manager.
And just to prove that we are live and that this is not pre-recorded or anything like that, or robots, we wanted to say hello. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. You may have already noticed that your voices are muted. They will remain muted throughout the session. However, you will be able to type questions to the moderator throughout the webinar. Then at the end of the session, we will do a Q&A based on your typed questions. All right, let's get started. At accesso, we know that you want to be forward-thinking industry leaders, and in order to do that, you need technology solutions to grow your business and create connected guest experiences, because technology really is critical to the success of your business and the happiness of your guests. But it's not always that easy and can leave you feeling overwhelmed. Venues around the world struggle to keep up with evolving technology and growing guest expectations, often lacking the functionality, resources, and data they need to succeed. At accesso, we get it, and we provide solutions that empower our clients to create connected guest experiences that drive their business forward. From distribution with Ingresso, ticketing with Passport, point of sale with Siriusware, queuing with LoQ, and tying the entire guest experience together with TE2, our suite of solutions is ready to help you at your venue. We understand that your technology is a critical part of the guest experience, and that's why over 1,000 venues in 30 countries have chosen to partner with us. Our accesso Siriusware solution offers a wide variety of powerful features for your venue. But today, we're going to specifically take a look at some features in Siriusware Control. Before we get started with the demo, I did want to provide a brief update on where we are with version 5. Although a large part of version 5 is in Siriusware Control, we have also been working on almost every other application as well to bring additional functionality to them in version 5. We have been hard at work with 100% of our efforts dedicated to completing version 5, which includes Siriusware Control, as well as changes in sales, e-commerce, reporting, and our other applications. So let's go ahead and run through the modules and see where we are. So with ticketing, as you can see here, we've completed all of the core ticketing aspects of the system, and this includes access control, which is our new quick scan solution that we introduced last year in version 4, but is also part of version 5. We also introduced all new reports that are critical to making ticketing a success. We then worked on passes and memberships and everything that entails, which includes in-house cards and benefits. We also introduced new reports. And in retail, we completed purchase orders, receiving, a new way to print labels, new reports, and soon we will have quick counts. On the rental side, we're currently working on TechStation and QuickTech, but we've completed all the other asset management and inventory of rentals in Control. A couple things that are fully still in development right now are Ski School, which includes private and group instruction. We've added some new functionality, which we'll be talking about today, which is tags, and we have an all-new scheduler and, of course, all new reports. Lastly, the last thing that we're working on is instructor payroll. Much of the functionality remains the same as we had in version 4, but we are doing brand new reports that we are introducing as part of version 5. All new clients going forward that we are implementing as we speak are all being started with version 5. We are actively working on a migration plan for existing clients as well, and we plan to share more news at seminar this year on what those plans look like. So given that, you may be wondering then what the plan is with version 4, as most of our focus has shifted to version 5. This year, we have released 4802 and we'll soon release 4803. And each of those releases contains several enhancements and bug fixes. Going forward, it'll look a little something like this, where maintenance and bug fixes will encompass future releases. But right now, we don't have a set end of life for version 4, as we know that this is going to take some time for our clients to migrate to version 5. Speaking of version 5, the plan looks a little bit like this. All major new enhancements will only be going into version 5. We'll also be working on bug fixes that come up, and then also improvements in control. As we've been developing control, there's always usability improvements and that we can do to improve how you use control, especially based on the client feedback that we've been getting from the clients that we're implementing at this moment. So what are we covering in today's demo? So we're going to be covering features in control that we're the most excited about. And these features are going to be in ticketing, retail, rentals, ski school, and finally reporting. The idea here is to show some of the latest work that we have completed. And just keep in mind that this will be a demo that we do from a development environment. So although we have practiced this presentation about 14 different times, we may encounter some interesting error messages, perhaps data not showing, spelling mistakes, or it could just be something new that our development team checked in this morning. Do keep in mind that this is not meant to be full training or a full end-to-end demo of any of these modules or features. It's just a glimpse into some of the features that we've developed inside of these modules. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our live demo. Stephanie will begin.
Thanks, Louis. Okay. So the first thing I want to show you, if you haven't seen Siriusware Control, is the portal itself. It's a web-based application, so you could access it from home, though we don't recommend working when you're supposed to be off. And as you can see, our menu has changed significantly from the way it appears in SysManager. On the left, we have our item selection or our menu selection, and it's quite complex. As you can see already, we have a lot of stuff in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the ticketing portion at this time. So let me go right into where our DCI setup is. So in our items menu, I'm going to go to department category item. And from there, I'm just going to roll through some department category here. So I'm going to go activities, attractions, and the roller coaster item, because I like roller coasters. So let's shrink down the menu and I'll show you. So where in SysManager we had the pop-up window that would appear in the center of SysManager, now you can see that our item configuration occupies the full screen for you. But similar to SysManager, we have the tabs across the top, so you can easily navigate through your item set. The key difference I want to show you today is what we've done with something called templates. We've decided that it's much easier to create a template and assign it across a broad range of items than to have you go into each item and set things individually. So it should make item setup a lot easier and faster for you. An example of the templates, we have the availability template. So let's say you have several items that are only available on Saturdays. Well, you just have to build that one template, and then when you build the item, just assign that template. No more selecting the date from the drop-down in the calendar several times over and over if you make the items from new and you don't duplicate. Same thing with the blackout template, but I'm actually going to go in here and show you how you can edit a template directly in the item, and I'm going to show you a cool thing about blackouts that we've introduced. So when I edit a feature within Control, it opens up a new tab. So here's my blackout template. I can create a new blackout template, but check this out. Where we've been limited with blackout templates in the past to only 4 options, you can just click this plus sign and we could have blackouts for days. So just keep that in mind of a cool feature that's coming. And when I'm done in this screen, I can close it. I would go here and just reload on my item to capture that change I made in the second tab. Continuing the templates, we have sales point templates. If we go down here, we have the access control template, and you'd also have a template for your ticket validation and for pass templates. So if this was a pass item, you would have the same thing you would for your tickets. You could share that single use, or maybe it's good for, you know, certain days of the week. That kind of template can be shared across passes and tickets. It's up to you on how you do that. So we hope that that will make things a little easier for you. On the pricing tab, we have a specials group template. This is cool because now you don't have to do the select the special and drag it, click the arrow to make it pop into the screen on the right. We can just make a template and there's a special. The special template is also available on the category level and the department level. So you could have different templates at different stages in your DCI, up to you. On the modifier tab, we have modifier templates. So no more assigning modifiers just like you would specials with the drag or using the arrow to go over. You can make a modifier group template and add it to the item and then just assign it to that item when you create it, or it'll be there when you duplicate it. So pretty cool stuff we're doing with templating. Something else that's new, aside from templates, is something called session times. And this is part of Max for Sale. It's not part of Points for Sale, but you'll see why in a second. So previously, some of you might know, because you already have this set up, you make your time for, say, an IMAX movie an item. Well, now you can just make an item, call it documentary, and we can assign session times with Max for Sale that act like the item. So in my roller coaster here, I have some times. On the top line here, I have that on July 31st, it was available from 8 a.m. to 8:59, 9 a.m. to 9:59, so on and so forth. And within each of those time slots, I had 20 capacity, right? It's your typical screen you're used to for Max for Sale. But what makes this different is we can now do a sort of conflict resolution between session times within Max for Sale. So if you have a package with multiple options of timed activities within it, the system can cascade down and say, okay, you can't book activity 1 from 9 to 10 because you've got, or activity 2 from 9 to 10 because activity 1 is already booked for that time. It's pretty cool. So if I hit delete ranges, and here's some cool picture buttons across the top to let you know, create daily or delete ranges. This will show you the session times I have for my roller coaster experience. So it's available from 8 to 8:59, 9 to 9:59, and 10 to 10:59 every day of the week through September 1st. So you could have multiple variations of session times through Max for Sale on an item. And if I go back to my modifier tab, I can see here, check for conflicting modifier session times, and I can set a time limit to say, if this is conflicting within 45 minutes, giving the guest time to say walk from attraction to attraction, you can put that time in there. That way it buffers for the guests so they have the optimum experience of not feeling rushed between activities. So that is a very exciting feature that we're very proud of, and it's in use and working now. So we hope that you will find it useful. In addition to helping to slim down your DCI, we've introduced customer types. So a customer type, just like with times, we would assign a modifier of, say, an adult, a senior, a student. So with customer types, we don't need to use modifiers anymore for that. We can just do a customer type and then assign a group to an item. And within that group, you can have customer types like adult, child, senior, teen, student, what have you. So then we get into some dynamic pricing. As I roll into my dynamic pricing menu, I'm going to search my customer type rule. We've added a new rule to our already robust dynamic pricing that says, if this item has a customer type of adult, set the price to this. Or senior. You can also reference the number of the customer type. You can reference something in the pricing tab of the item, a section in the pricing tab like grab pricing number 2 in order to use the dynamic pricing rules. So you can do some pretty creative stuff with dynamic pricing around your customer type, and you don't have to use them as modifiers anymore. And again, customer type is also a template, so you can share the same customer types across the different items that you create. The next really neat feature, as if we have a limit, everything's neat in control now are item trees. So if you've ever worked with item trees, you know that you have to have a sales point nearby or on the same station you're working on so you can check your changes. Well, with the control item tree programming, you can now see what the item tree will look like on your station, whether you're in a back office or at home. You don't need to have a sales point next to you. Here it is on my screen. This is what the sales point would look like with my items, the colors, the font, everything. This is the exact replica of how it's going to look. So you can edit it in real time without having to refresh and see what's going to happen. There's some drop downs here across the top that allow you to change when this item tree would be available. So let's say you had a holiday set of items that you wanted to appear from December 1st through January 15th. I would make an availability template here at the top so that those items appear during that time frame, and then it'll switch back to my normal item tree after that time frame, if that makes sense. You also have blackout dates you can do on the item tree or for items. So if I click on an item, I can change the availability of just that item on the item tree or a blackout date, or I could do it for several items if I just hold down Shift and highlight. I can also change the color of all the items. Let's go orange. So you can do a lot of things as a more refined way to edit your item tree. You do it here in Control. And here on the left, instead of doing an I&I setting to choose your columns or rows, you have that all here in your item tree. So great stuff there. And then next, another thing you can do is you can make a draft of this item tree. You can duplicate this item tree to edit it some more before it goes live. And then once we're ready to go live with this item tree, we would publish this draft. So you could, under the admissions titling, you could have multiple item trees and publish different ones at different times. It's up to you. And then work with the availability template to change when something's available, which is pretty cool. I'll also show you too, just moving an item in here is very easy. The plus sign means it's a blank place in the item tree, so you move stuff around. And then when you see the ellipses here in the item, that means there is a group within that drop down, and we can see here at the top, that's how we navigate into that group to add items to a subfolder in the item tree. Okay, so enough about items. Let me move into rentals. We've brought in the same functionality that we've had in rentals into Control. There's just some small things that we've changed that are great features. As you can see, we've got our item list here, so I'm just going to click on a piece of equipment. And notice how we're not looking at a small window for setup as well. Here, just like our items, we've expanded this to a full screen. And I will add that we are not as limited in certain fields to character length as we were in SysManager. You can enter more things. So here is our ski rental item. I can now go and write a note about this equipment. Previously, we only had the ability to tag notes on the form in TextStation, but now we can write notes per the equipment. So you can log a lot of different things about this equipment, perhaps. Maybe you have something that you have to note it was in an accident but repaired or something like that. Whatever your note may be, you can log it with this specific piece of equipment. And then we also have the activity display here that has a new interface. You can take notes based on that activity. Once it's been logged into TextStation, we record that activity, and we have some new activities in there that can be recorded in TextStation, like recovered, stolen, and we have new reports now around those different activities. And instead of maybe having to delete an item or hide it, we have this active button here that can make your equipment active or inactive. So it's still in your equipment list, but maybe you just don't want to display it to be rented at this time. So you can toggle it from active to inactive. Okay, and then the final thing that I'll be showing you today is reporting. So all the reporting that you've used moves from Report Manager and SQL reporting services into Control. We will have subscriptions. You can save reports. It's very cool. And we've actually gotten a little smarter too with if there's reports related to items, we'll put them in that category. If there's dynamic pricing rules or specials reports, we put them in with these categories. So you can view all reports in the All Reports section of the menu. So as I navigate here, I'm just going to show you the period sales report. It's our tried and true favorite report. As you can already see, we have several pages of reports already available, and we're writing new ones all the time. So there will be new ones out often. So I'm going to open up my period sales report and show you what's changed about reporting. So we'll start with our date range for transactions. All reports now have the option to show finalized or saved. This is especially helpful if you're doing reservations or online sales where they haven't finalized, but the tickets have been added to the cart and they've been transacted, let's say. So you can choose to show both or one or the other. And again, this is included in all applicable reports now. The date range is something new we've created. Our reporting team thought you need more flexibility here, and we can do things like month to date, year to date, which I'm going to choose year to date. You can also still do custom if you want to enter your own date range. So we'll do year to date yesterday. Now here's where it gets crazy. Previously, our reports were static in the way they displayed. The columns were the same across report. So you had, let's say, period sales, you had item, department, category, item, description, quantity, admissions, things like that. Well, now you can choose the way it's grouped to change the look. So you could run this period sales report 6 different ways, probably at least. So I'm going to group by date sold, and then I'll go category, and I'll choose to detail by department. We're going to just flip it. Usually it's department category, but why not? And then I'm just going to choose to do one department so we can keep it kind of short to look at, and I'm going to choose my activities department. Whoops. Okay. So then I click view. And just like with Report Manager, you have the option to export the reports as PDF, Excel. We can see here we can download them Word or CSV. So it's up to you. And the interface has changed a bit too. So here's my columns, my dates sold, my category, my department, quantity, gross sales, all that typical stuff that we usually see in our period sales report, but it's a new look for us to view the report. So reporting will take you some time to get used to because you'll want to maybe use the same reporting you've had previously, or maybe you want to change it, but I definitely recommend exploring and experimenting with the reports you will get out of the box with control. Lastly, with reports, there is a neat thing you can do called saving a report. So let's say I want to save this. I love the way this looks. This is the way I want to save it. I'm going to call it the best period sales. So now I can save this and it can be available to just me, or I can select an operator group, or I can choose it to be available to everyone. Totally up to you on how that works. So we'll just say for me, I'm going to keep it. So this is now saved so that the next time I log into Control and I need to run that report, I want to say year to date to yesterday. This is how I want it filtered. I don't have to do any of the drop downs. It's all set up for me, ready to go to run again. That's not something we had in the previous system. It did remember some fields, but you would have to do the report all over again to run it. So that's our reporting. And let me show you just some reports that we have just to show you how they've been rewritten. So we have the sales performance by period. Again, I did this for the activities department. We have a scanned admissions report, rentals arrivals report. This is great if you're expecting groups or people. You want to know who's doing what, getting what, and you have all their guest information. The daily summary has changed a bit. We've included a lot of the closeout information with the daily summary. This is part of it, but you'll see there's been some changes to consolidate reporting as well. We have our benefit redemption summary, admissions, our period sales comparative, which is always a great report to show how you're doing day over day, year over year, however you choose to query, and then ticket pass activity. So you could tell our reporting team has been very busy making sure that we took what was great in our previous reporting system, refined it, made it better, we listened, and hopefully you'll like what's delivered. And again, if the report that you need is not there, we're still available to customize reports for control. So with that, I will pass it to Lewis, and he can tell you a little more about retail and ski school. Lewis?
Great. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there. Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was awesome.
I was worried I put you to sleep.
No, I'm wide awake over here. So that was great. So we got a little bit of a sneak peek there into our ticketing side of things. We saw a little bit of rentals and some reporting. But now let's talk a little bit about retail. So kind of diving right in here into control, I'm going to go into retail. Kind of the same thing as Stephanie was showing. So inside of retail, you'll see that we have really built this out. In particular, if you were at seminar last year, we only had maybe a couple sub menus in here. Now this thing is fully built out with everything that we had in version 4 plus more. So a couple different things that we did here with retail. So we have our purchase orders, and we've always had the purchase orders in Sys Manager. But we did do a couple different changes where purchase orders are separated from receivers. And then on top of that, the ability to print labels right here for retail items, that's separated as well. So this was done intentionally because we got a lot of feedback from our clients, especially in version 4, where there are certain people that are allowed to create the purchase orders, and then there are different people that could fulfill those purchase orders. And then finally, there could be someone else that is only allowed to print the labels. So this way, it could be the same person that is allowed to do all three, or you could actually separate out these job functions and just surround that with security. Totally up to you, but we've given a lot more flexibility into how the retail operation can work. So let's actually go into purchase orders and see how this looks, especially in comparison to version 4. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of purchase orders that I already have in the system. They're all with the status of open, or I could have some that are back ordered or some different statuses. Let's go ahead and create a new one so we see what that looks like. And up here at the top then, of course, the first thing I need to do is select a vendor. We have other ways to look up the items as well, but in my case, I'm going to do a vendor so we could kind of see what that looks like. So I'll go ahead and do maybe gearhead, and then here's where I would set up which default receive location I want. Of course, I could change this per line item if needed. And then I would do my order date, and then when I expect that to ship, depending on my vendor. And then finally, any of the billing terms and shipping, tax, and miscellaneous charges down here at the bottom. Going now into line items, then from here, you'll see that there's nothing added yet, but if I go on the top right, then now I can actually start selecting my line items. In this case, this particular vendor, we don't have too many things, so I just maybe have the ski poles and the boots, so I can add those. But you'll notice that there's this little icon right in here. So if I select that, then what this is indicating is that it's a matrix item. So at this point, then it's showing me my matrix attributes for this particular item. So in this case, it's size, and then maybe different types of boots. And then from here, then I could start placing my order as needed. And I, of course, don't need to order everything. I only need to order what I'd like. And you'll notice now that everything kind of populates for me, really nice and clean, so I could see what's going on. I could change anywhere that I want to receive. I can also collapse this, so in that way it's a little bit cleaner on the view. The ski boots would work in the same fashion. We have a lot more attributes going on here with the ski boots, but a lot of the same flow that I had before. And I can then add selected, and then there we go. So once I do that, then I'll hit add, and now that purchase order has been created and it's ready to go. Since we have this list view right here, I can always sort by order or sort by expected. In this case, then I will select the this particular purchase order that I just did, and I can print that purchase order, which then what that is going to do, it's actually going to go into the reporting area. It's going to automatically select the purchase order number for me. And then from here, I can hit view if I just want to look at that purchase order. But of course, then I can download this as a bunch of different file formats. Typically though, of course, it's going to be PDF. You'll notice that we added a PDF button directly, so that way that saves you one click. And once I do that, then it'll download as a PDF, and then you can attach it to the email that you send to the vendor. Going back in here, then at this point, once I actually receive this particular purchase order, then I can hit receive purchase order. I could do it that way from the purchase order, but I could also just go directly into receiving it from the menu right here. So we have receivers. So it's kind of up to you on how you want to do that. But in my case, then I'm receiving this. And at this point, then I could go ahead and receive any of the items. Oh, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong place. Here it is. Here's a receive. And then if I go into line items, then here I could go ahead and click receive all. So of course, then that'll receive everything all at once. Or I could go through and specifically receive any of these items. Now, there are particular different color coding and messages that pop up, and this is to reduce mistakes. So in my case here, I had ordered 20, but I typed in 30. So of course, then we're gonna prompt and say, hey, are you sure you want to receive more than you ordered? And we'll let you do that if it makes sense to do that. And we're also gonna show that it's red. In other words, there's something off about this particular one. If I receive then the exact amount, then it's gonna use that blue color because it's the ordered amount or less. Or if I just hit receive all, then everything will be received. And then I can go ahead and save that and commit that. The last piece then would be to actually print those retail labels. That is one thing that I can't show. We are actually making quite a few changes in that area as we speak. So I can't show that right now, but we will be able to show this at seminar and later through demos if you'd like. Another thing I wanted to show here with retail items, if we go into retail and at the very top here, I could do an inventory lookup. So from here, this is a specific search functionality that we built into Control that is only looking for retail items. It ignores ticketing items, it ignores passes, memberships, everything else. So then that way, again, you could give control, you could give access to particular people to go into this area, but not go into maybe product setup or dynamic pricing rules or anything like that. One thing to keep in mind, all of these menus, these are all security controlled. So then that way, if a particular person can only see the retail menu, when they log into Control, all of these other menus will not be shown. The only one that they'll see is retail. So going in here then, let's go ahead and look for calendar. And then it's gonna populate then any calendar items that I have in the system. If I select one of these, then this will actually go into what we call the dashboard. So we did have something similar to this in Sys Manager where it showed me some nice data about the items that I have. But of course, what we did in Control, since this is now web-based, we have a lot more functionality on what we could do. And our reporting team kind of took this to 100 miles an hour and really made something nice. We plan to continue to evolve this as we get more clients using version 5 and retail. But for now, you could kind of see what we're trying to do here, where it gives you a very nice dashboard as to what occurred based on the date range that I select here. Since this is a development system, I don't actually have any items sold. But as you can imagine, once you start selling items, then we start getting those net sales, our margin, and then any discounts that were applied at the sales point, those will be shown in here as well. Some really critical information then is, of course, your on hand and on order. And we show a nice little chart as well. Depending on location, what do you have on hand and if anything has been ordered. So it's a really great functionality. You could kind of see where we're going here with dashboarding and the potential. The first dashboard that we did start on is this one, and we do have some plans to add some additional dashboards across the system in the future. So moving now to private instruction. So private instruction has been a lot of work. And by a lot of work, I mean thousands of hours of development and design have gone into private instruction and just taking everything that we had in version 4, and if it worked, then we brought it into version 5, and if we could make improvements to it, then we certainly did that as well. The single biggest improvement that we made is in the actual schedule itself. So let's go ahead and check that out. If I go into the actual schedule, then this is our brand new schedule component that's built into Control. This is the same scheduler component that we use for private instruction, but also for group pod instructions. So in here, we added quite a bit of features. So we could do filters, and down here on the left, we have our calendar, which is always displayed. Previously in Sys Manager, you had to click and see the calendar. Now it's just always shown, so it's a lot easier to get to. Some of the other features then is we have the same types of drop-downs that we had in Sys Manager, but one thing that I really like is when you click on the instructor, it shows the instructor nickname, but it also shows their full name as well, which is really nice. Previously, you can only see the nickname. We could sort by, we could select instructor type. Down here, we have the clipboard, and the clipboard now is unlimited. So previously, we had a limit of 5, I believe, and that was the end of it. But now you have an unlimited clipboard that is shown down here, and then you can drag those up as needed. So kind of going through how this works then is if I have this particular one, it's a lot of the same functionality, right? Where we drag and drop. We do have then this pop-up that comes up where I select the lesson type. Well, that'd be pretty interesting, mountain bike on the daycare. But I can add that, and as you saw there, we could do recurring. We can also just kind of drag and drop. So a lot of the functionality that we had in Sys Manager kind of remains. It just looks a lot better, and it's a little bit more intuitive on how everything is shown. Any of those clipboard items, then I can move those, or maybe I locked these. Oh, yeah, we can move those up into there. I can move them in and out of the clipboard as needed. Not sure why it's not showing. It could be because we're fixing something. Oh, well, there you go, live demo. But rest assured that will be showing up there, and I can also then drag them back down into my clipboard as needed. One of the things I did want to show before I go further into this is some new features that we added, which is Instructor Tags. So in here, then these are what we call tag sets. So as you can see, I have some tag sets that are already prearranged in my particular system. And the way that this works then is that you create a tag set, and inside of that, then you have tags. So you'll see that I have my age group, and I have different types of age groups that have been configured in here. I could add a new one. So maybe this is a 65 plus age group. I can also change any of these that need to be changed. And from here, I can also maybe delete a particular age group tag. If I hit new, then I could set up as many new ones as I need in here. This description that is shown, I could change that at any time as well. This is the description that will show in control and also in sales. And then finally, we have the assigned instructors. So then here's where I could kind of configure which instructors are part of which of these tag sets. So then that way, this will help with filtering and sorting once we actually have to start scheduling everybody here. If I hit add, then this will prompt my available instructors. From here, then I could select which type of instructor it is that I'm looking for, and then it'll show me that. Now in this case, I'm just going to do all bases, and I'm going to now hold down Control and multi-select. I can also do Shift and select a whole bunch at the same time, hit Add Selected, and then I kind of just start going through and start configuring all of these. So in that way, that's all set up for me. Now, where these start to come into play is if I go back into that schedule and that scheduler component, then these filters and tag sets start to come into play here. So this is our new filter modal window that we've introduced. So then from here, I could go ahead and select what I want my base to be, maybe my level, and you'll notice that depending on preferred or required, then it's showing you it's blue versus red. Red is required. And then down here, those are my tag sets. So then right down here, then I could say, well, okay, I prefer that they teach between 12 and 15. And then as you add tag sets, then this window will grow with additional filter information. Now at the very top, you'll notice here then that we have my filters that were selected. And then based on that, then everything kind of changes. The instructors then change on which instructors are shown. So as I kind of go through this really quick, I can do that. And at any point then I can remove any of those filters or tag sets and start, or just go ahead and clear all of them. and then the entire schedule will refresh. So as you can see there's a couple errors that are popping up. This scheduler component, we just added this into our solution just a couple months ago, and then we've been continually building on top of that and adding more and more features and functionality. Almost every day that we log in, there's one new button or one new feature that has been introduced in this. So as you can see, we are pretty excited about that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this scheduler, as you see here, and this filter component, this is exactly how it's going to look in sales as well. So the great thing about this is that although we made all these changes in control, the way that we developed this is that we are taking this entire component and we are making it available in sales. So the scheduler and the filters that you're used to seeing in sales right now, that'll be completely replaced by this scheduler. So as you can imagine, this is gonna make the sales point just a lot cleaner, a lot more intuitive on the features and functionality that they have. And the last thing is that this particular scheduler is the same thing that is also used for pods if you're using pods. If I go down here under private instruction, above private instruction, then up here, then you'll see we have our pods. And if I go into schedule, then you'll notice that the schedule looks very similar. This has a bunch more built into here, probably from our testing team. The right-click menu, that still exists. We're continually adding more and more functionality and features to the right-click menu. Most of everything that's going to be in the right-click menu is what we had in Sys Manager. We got a lot of feedback from clients that those were helpful, so those will all be in there as well. Okay, I'm just kind of going through my list. I think I showed everything I wanted to show. As you can see, when it comes to private instruction though, we have pretty much everything built out already when it comes to what we had in version 4. Then of course, we've added some additional functionality in there. What's in development at the moment is instructor payroll. So we're adding in everything that we had in version 4 for instructor payroll. And then at the same time, our reporting team is working on new reports that are going to be available as part of instructor payroll. Okay. So that is all I have. And I just wanted to make sure that you really liked what you saw. As you can see, we're pretty excited about this. If we had about 3 hours for this, we would have shown a whole lot more. But Stephanie, I really liked what you had to show today. Oh, Stephanie's muted. High five. So I really hope you enjoyed what we had to show you today. Join us in Denver for our accesso Client Seminar, September 15th through the 20th, where we'll be showing off more new features and control, as well as some great version 5 content, including demos and classes to get you up to speed on how to prepare for version 5. In addition, we will be talking about some updated timelines for the release of version 5 for our existing clients. So we really encourage you to attend seminar this year. Really, a lot of the focus is going to be on version 5 and preparing our clients for version 5. So we hope to see you there. And at this time, I'd like to open the floor to any questions. And as a reminder, you could type your questions into the GoToWebinar panel. Lynette, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
Thank you, Louis. Yeah, we have quite a few questions. Let's dive right in. Our first question is, do I have to use session times, or can I still have an item be a time with max for sale so I can see it separate in reports?
Yes, you can still have a time be an item. It's not a problem. We do have capacity control reports that will show the session times and how many have sold per session time and the start time, and you can filter those by department and category and item. But you could also keep your times, your capacity controlled items, as unique items, and then you'll see it in like period sales. But to view session times in reporting, you'll probably use our capacity control reports as they relate to max for sale.
Great, Steph, thank you. Our next question is there a limit to the number of customer types you can have on an item?
Nope, it's up to your management style. There is a limit. You can only have one customer type group per item, but you could put multiple customer types within that group and then have the dynamic pricing rules fire appropriately for those groups. Like maybe only adults are sold on weekends and seniors are sold during the week or something. You can use dynamic pricing to control those multiple customer types within that group and how they fire with your item in the sales portal.
Great, thank you. For the ski school scheduler, is there a limit to how many tag sets that can be created?
No, it's kind of the same thing like what Stephanie was talking about there with how we do items and the features and functionality that we're introducing into items. We're trying to remove a lot of the limits that we had in version 4. So when it comes to those tag sets and what I showed in there, there really isn't a limit to how many are created. We definitely recommend planning it out, potentially like in an Excel sheet, just making sure that it makes sense. So in that way, you don't have too many tag sets and it makes it too difficult to actually filter and use a scheduler. But there is no actual limit to creating any of those filters or any of those tag sets.
Perfect, thank you. And I think we have time for one last question. Can someone print labels that does not have the security access to purchase orders?
They can. So what we did in version 5 is we separated out both of those functions. So in that way, you can have a group of people or just one person access to purchase orders. Potentially someone else have access to receivers, and then someone else could have access to actually print those labels, or the same person could do all three. That's totally up to you on how you want to manage the security, but you now have the capability to do so.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Louis and Stephanie, and thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar, accesso Siriusware Control Sneak Peek. If you do have any other questions or would like to learn more about our accesso Siriusware solution, please contact sales@accesso.com. And I know we had a lot of great questions come in, so we'll follow up individually with any that we couldn't answer on air here. And we'll be sending out the link to view this recording within the next day. And on behalf of accesso, Louis, and Stephanie, thank you all for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day. We hope to see you in Denver.